Because of long stretches of contemplating the internal parts of individuals, each possibility we get, we have a quite decent handle on the elements of practically the entirety of our body parts. The cerebrum, be that as it may, appears to get progressively secretive the more we attempt to contemplate it. In view of its multifaceted nature, it's nothing unexpected that contemplating it is an undeniable logical field all alone, in particular neuroscience. As our logical instruments show signs of improvement and we get a more profound knowledge into the inward operations of the most significant piece of the body, we understand that it's prepared to do considerably more than we recently suspected. Here are 10 of the most awesome things you had no clue the human mind can do. On especially hectic workdays, we all wonder if there's a way to put ourselves on auto mode. How awesome would it be to just zone out and let your body take over? Other than your full attention, it already has all the parts needed to complete the job. You'd be surprised to know, then, that the brain doesn't just have an autopilot mode of its own, but it's much better at a given task than the active part of the brain. Studies have found that once you get good at something, the brain relegates the processing of that task to a separate brain region called default mode network, which deals with subconscious processing. In one of those studies, 28 subjects were asked to play a card game that required a bit of learning and monitored their brain activity. Things went as expected at first, though when they got sufficiently good at the game, it got shifted from the active regions to the DMN. Their responses became faster and much more accurate, too. It's the reason why some tasks like playing an instrument are more difficult to do when you consciously think about them, though only if you know how to play that instrument. It's not something unheard of, as we already use that part of the brain for regular stuff like unlocking our car or tying our shoelaces. The study was the first time it had been shown to work for more complicated tasks. The interaction between the eyes and the brain has been a topic of interest among neuroscientists for quite some time now, and not just for fun's sake. Properly mapping out the pathways between our eyes and how the brain processes that information can help millions of people suffering from a variety of diseases. It would also give us more of an insight into how the visual processing part of the brain actually works. While there will be some time before it's completely understood, we've made some key discoveries in the past few years, one of them being the brain's ability to predict the immediate future. In a study, researchers found that because of the delay in the information from the eye to the brain, it forms its own predictions of what's going to happen next, which get more accurate with age. It bases it on previous behavior and does it before we can consciously figure it out. So, in essence, we're always slightly looking into the future, which helps us avoid injury or death by subconsciously predicting potentially threatening events. It has been speculated, in horror movies as well as real life, that people have a sixth sense when it comes to knowing if someone is watching them from behind. You're supposed to feel uneasy, start sweating, and feel the hair on the back of your neck stand up. It's thought of as a vestigial sense from our hunter-gatherer days, though it's absolutely not. The actual reason it happens is that we're perfectly able to observe all 360 degrees of our surroundings. If the eyes seem to be limited by the scope of their field of vision compared to other animals, it's because the brain doesn't need to be able to look behind. It has other, better means of making a full-scale 3D model of our surroundings. Studies have found that our sense of hearing is quite accurate at detecting even the slightest shift in our surroundings, especially the parts we can't see. That, combined with our other senses, provide the brain with a largely accurate view of all 360 degrees of what's around us. It's summer already, which means that once again, many of us were unable to get that perfect summer body we had promised ourselves when the year started. It's largely because of the understandable reason that being fit requires you to work out, which is definitely not easy to do. Apparently, however, you can do it just by thinking about working out, at least when it comes to building muscles. In a study by researchers at Ohio University, they wrapped the wrists of 29 volunteers in surgical casts. They then asked half of them to think about focusing on exercising their wrists for 11 minutes a day, 5 times a week. At the end of it, they found that the half that did the imaginary exercise developed muscles twice as strong as the other half, even if they did the same amount of actual exercise. None. It's not just this study, either. Many previous studies have indicated that you can increase the physical strength of your muscles by the power of the mind alone. Can you get six-pack abs by this method, then? Well, you'll never know until you try. One of the most complex and mysterious parts of the brain is how it deals with memories. Despite decades of research and case studies, we still only have pieces of the puzzle. We don't even know exactly which parts of the brain are responsible for storing and retrieving memories, let alone understanding how the brain processes them. A big part of that mystery is false memories. Things that never happened but that you clearly remember. While we've known about the brain's ability to do this for a while, that's only the beginning of it. We're not just talking about convincing yourself about borrowed money that never happened, but serious stuff like theft or even murder. In one study, 70% of subjects were falsely made to believe that they committed crimes like theft or assault with weapon by basic memory retrieval techniques in interviews. Of course, there have also been cases where someone was incarcerated for a crime they confessed to despite having an alibi. We still don't quite understand why the brain is so good at fooling even itself. Theories suggest that it may be because of its propensity toward filling up gaps in the recollection process, even if it's filling them with inaccurate information. These were 5 amazing things your brain is capable of. Subscribe to the channel. Bye.